Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Top Terran tip tutorial. This comes out of one of my latter games in StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. And of course, you can see this is a new map, Frozen Temple. It was just added in the last season's map pool. So the first thing I'm going to do is set it to just my vision. And the reason why we're going to do that is this is going to be a bit of a tutorial on dealing with some scouting aspects of Terran versus Protoss, but also dealing with early Protoss aggression. As you may have guessed, most of the tutorial requests that I get are related to scouting, making decisions, why you do certain things in certain ways, because you want to be able to survive certain attacks. You want to be able to beat cheese, and that is what we're going to help you with today. So, unlike my last two tutorials, we're actually doing a pretty standard build. Just to briefly state, it's a Reaper expand strategy, so it's going to be 14 depot, 16 racks, 16 gas, and then send an SCV out to scout. So it's a very normal, straight up way to do this, and I'm just going to kind of go through the nuances. If you don't know how to Reaper expand, I've done it in many of my other tutorials, so there's a lot of different places that you're able to go to see this sort of thing. So I send my SCV out on the map. His probe comes into my base, nothing unusual. Command Center's about to finish, so I'm going to start my orbital soon. Or barracks is about to finish. So SCV goes into scout. Now this is in the earliest phase. This is when your SCV should be arriving, about a minute and a half into the game, as we can see on this map at least. So what are we looking for when we're scouting? Well, we've confirmed a few things already in the first moments of this game. We see the gateways in his main base, and that tells us, okay, we're not being proxied. So already we can write off proxies. It's not happening this game, at least not proxy gates. But we see that the cybernetics core is on the way, which is interesting because at this time a Nexus should be starting, which means our opponent has opted for a fast tech build. And if we see this, oh, a second gas as well. This tells us many things. Alright, the vast majority of standard Protoss builds are going to be pylon, gateway, gas, Nexus, core, pylon, gas. So this is not that. This was a pylon, gateway, gas, core. So what this means is if our opponent doesn't want to open up with economy, then they must have some other goal in mind. If they haven't expanded, then that means they want to do something other than power up their economy. And this sounds like a very basic thing when you think about it, but you should program yourself that when you see something like this, you immediately know in your mind, oh my goodness, my opponent is going to do something aggressive. There's nowhere else they could go. They could either do fast production or fast tech. If they're not going to go fast economy, it's production or tech. So 3 gateways, well, that's not going to do much, right? It's got to be tech play. They're not just going to 4-gate you. I mean, sometimes that can happen, but for the most part, you don't even need the gas this fast if you're going to 4-gate somebody. So moving forward, there's a couple of different ways that we can respond to this. So this game, I opened up with a Reaper. The probe, I like to go for a fast reactor, but the probe blocked it. Already, I'm concerned about expanding super fast because I want to make sure I can build units. So I'm going to build a second depot in my main base. This SCV is going to check his natural. One thing that you can do to make sure that you know when your opponent expands is to block their natural with something like an engineering bay. And this is a cool little trick that I like to do because this, what I'm about to do with this engineering bay is actually finish it and use it to build turrets. And this sounds really weird. In my opinion, this is a weird thing to do. Not many people will do this, but I like it because if our opponent is going to go for fast tech, the most common tech that Protoss players will go for, even if we're not able to scout it, is stuff like oracles, proxy oracle. Maybe there's going to be something like an oracle flying into our base, maybe Dark Templar. And Dark Templar, of course, are invisible. You need missile turrets to detect those. Maybe a warp prism. Well, missile turrets are still good against those. The only thing a missile turret won't help you with if you get one base all in is probably proxy robo immortal all in. But that comes down to scouting. That's probably the one thing that's going to be difficult for you to stop. But that build is, if you want to beat that, you just keep building bunkers. So I built this engineering bay because I want to delay his expansion. By having this here and seeing this, it gives me the impression that he wants to expand and that he's not one base all-inning me. And the reason why I know that is if he was going to do something like build pylons in front of my base and try to photon overcharge down my front door, he needs his mothership core there for that. So his mothership core is at home. I don't have to worry about that. Now, Back home, I built my command center in my main. If you guys want to steal my build order, I guess. After I finished the engineering bay, I started a turret in my mineral line in case it was an oracle. And since my engineering bay is going to die, and I'm not sure if it's something like Dark Templar, I actually also get a missile turret at front just to make sure. So now I'm 100% safe against DTs and Stargate play. Like, of course, maybe the DT can run around the turret or something weird, but for the most part, I feel pretty safe. Now, I run my Reaper back into his base, and this Reaper is going to get some damage done. But more importantly, as my engineering bay dies, this Reaper has still one more job to do. I already ran past where this pylon was, and now I'm kind of running around behind his mineral line. My Reaper also wants to see, while killing probes, what else he has, and I didn't really see much of anything. So I decided that this is the time when you aren't sure what your opponent is doing and you didn't see anything in their main base, send your Reaper around the map. And you know, it's important to be pretty dedicated with this. You want to check all these areas. Now, you can't hide anything here, but something could have been here, maybe here. Uncommon spot if they're going to proxy tech, because in Legacy of the Void, you need a gateway next to your next to your pylon if you want it to warp in quickly. So I'm going to run around the map. I'm going to scout. And to briefly go over again, like I said, my follow-up was after the Reaper, I got the reactor. I built a factory as soon as I could afford it. And then I got a starport as soon as the factory was done. As soon as the factory starts, I take my second gas. The command center starts while the Reaper is building. So that just kind of gives you an overall idea of how I do this. I get a tech lab so that I can build a cyclone. Cyclones are able to track down missile turrets or war prisms. Cyclones are able to track down immortals. And cyclones are also able to track down, and by that I mean lock on to Phoenix or, you know, oracles, all sorts of stuff. They can pick off units pretty easily. So I get a bunker since I'm still not sure, and just run the Reaper everywhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness. My Reaper has stumbled upon a gateway that is finishing and warping in, a second gateway, a Twilight Council, and a dank shrine. So my first instinct is, obviously I want to kill the probe. I don't want him to build anything else closer to my forces. So, in this position, my mind, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't have an engineering bay. But I still have turrets from my engineering bay block. I'm not worried about Dark Templar. Not at all. I feel completely fine. Stalker's going to come to push the Reaper away, but that's totally fine. So for me, I'm going to get a Cyclone. I'm going to get some Marines out. And I'm just going to set myself up in a position where I shouldn't be able to die. I'm going to flow my command center down. Oh, lo and behold, we have a Dark Templar outside of my base. But I feel totally fine. I'm completely confident in this game. I've already been saving energy because I anticipated this a little bit. I knew it had to be something. And then I run my Reaper back into his base. I'm like, what else you got, baby girl? Try to get some work done here. So this is pretty much the part where I'm going to say the next step is, since I don't know if he has a robotics facility, I have to be a little bit careful. My Reaper doesn't see a robotics facility, or at least I don't see one. So I want to expand. I'm going to scan, kill the Dark Templar. I got a lot of scans. I don't care. Keep in mind, guys, you might say, but Nathanias, a scan, oh my god, that's so expensive, that's a mule. Well, I don't want mules right now because he's got invisible units. Building something like a Raven would be way too expensive because we need Cyclones to track down expensive units. Ravens are not units that can stand and fight, so we need power units right now. We want to get stem off of these second and third barracks. These I started when I could afford them. And I also built a Liberator. I mean, at this point, I'm not gonna like babysit you through this. This is into 3 racks, factory starport setup. If you want to copy my follow-up, that's fine. This is more about surviving the early aggression and scouting. So that's most of the tutorial. But I know that you guys really like when I go through all of this, so I will go through the rest of the game for you guys. This is specifically because you have asked me every time I've done a build order or a tutorial to go through the rest of the game and, you know, take you through it. So I keep my eyes open for the Dark Templar. I build another turret up front. And in this position, you just want to get yourself set up to defend. That was a bit bad. You want to set yourself up to defend, but then swiftly move in to a normal position where you can attack and move out. I don't know how much else he's building. I haven't scouted his expansion. So I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to build bunkers. I want to shut down this. And then naturally the next step here is I'm just going to send these Cyclones over with their Marines. They're going to kill this. That's going to get destroyed. My Cyclone, yeah, my Liberator got some kills. No big deal. Going to Stim, Combat Shield, get a Reactor. I get +1 attack eventually as well. And obviously you want to build supply depots. That's really important. I'm pretty bad at that. But I killed his Dark Shrine so I can use supply drops and meals again, since I'm not particularly worried about being hit by Dark Templar anymore. I'm going to go up to 5 barracks before I get my 3rd command center. Why, Nathanias? This map has a really wide open 3rd base. I don't want to be harassed. I think I'm way ahead looking at the supply I am, and I want to kill my opponent as fast as possible. So I'm going to push out with a lot of forces here. I have 3 Cyclones. Cyclones got buffed in the last patch. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm not going to do it here, but I see no 3rd base. And I'm like, okay, what does he got? Well, I'm going to use my Cyclones to lock on, kill this Pylon, since it has more range than a Photon Overcharged Pylon. And I'm just going to work away at all of this. Just slowly pick it all off. And that's about it. I seize an opportunity to counterattack, and I'm going to kill my opponent here. For those of you guys who don't know, Cyclones, when they are locked on to Colossi, actually deal double damage to Colossi. So Colossi are super weak against Cyclones. I focus fire down the Colossus, and as you can see, it dies in about 3 volleys to the Cyclones. So they are very bad against Cyclones. And then he leaves the game. So there you go. There you have it. I was way far ahead after the start of that game because I was able to pay attention and be aware of my opponent's strategy, and I used that to give myself an advantage. If you guys like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And this, of course, was recorded live on my Twitch TV stream where I play StarCraft for about 7 to 8 hours a day on twitch.tv/Nathanias. And of course, I only make these videos as a way of rewarding my awesome subscribers that allow me to do StarCraft full-time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please leave a video or a comment or like on the section below. And I'll see you guys next time.